Japan is one of the world's most technologically advanced and culturally rich nations. Yet, it remains one of the most immigration-averse countries on the planet. While many developed nations actively welcome Indian workers, students, and entrepreneurs, Japan has been far less receptive. Despite India's booming population and its reputation for producing top talent in IT, medicine, and engineering, the flow of Indian immigrants to Japan remains relatively small compared to destinations like the United States, Canada, or the United Kingdom. This raises an important question: why doesn't Japan want Indian immigration? To answer this, we need to explore multiple dimensions. From Japan's unique cultural identity to its strict immigration laws, economic concerns, and social perceptions. 1. Japan's immigration philosophy, a historical overview. Unlike the United States or Canada, Japan has never viewed itself as an immigration nation. Its history has long been defined by isolation and homogeneity. Sakoku policy, 1603-1868. For over 2 centuries during the Edo period, Japan practiced near-total isolation from the outside world. Foreigners were barred entry, and Japanese were forbidden to leave the country. This deeply shaped the national mindset about preserving cultural purity. Post-war rebuilding. After World War II, Japan focused on rebuilding its economy with domestic labor. Unlike Germany or the Gulf states, Japan did not rely heavily on foreign guest workers, modern approach. Even today, Japan accepts far fewer immigrants per capita compared to other advanced economies. Its foreign population is about 2 to 3% of the total population, while countries like the US, UK, or Canada hover around 15 to 25%. This philosophy of cultural and ethnic homogeneity explains Japan's reluctance to accept large-scale immigration from anywhere, including India. 2. Demographic pressure versus immigration. Reluctance. Japan faces a massive demographic crisis. Its population is shrinking rapidly. By 2050, estimates suggest Japan will lose nearly 20 million people. About 30% of its population is over 65 years old, making it one of the oldest societies on Earth. Labor shortages are particularly acute in healthcare, construction, and technology. Logically, immigration could solve this problem. Countries like Canada and Australia actively import Indian labor to address similar shortages. However, Japan's reluctance remains strong. Why? Because Japan often prefers automation and robotics over immigration. Instead of opening doors to workers from India or elsewhere, Japan invests heavily in robots, AI, and technological innovation to compensate for its aging population. 3. Cultural and social factors. 3.1. Homogeneity and group identity. Japanese society values harmony, where conformity, group consensus, and social order are paramount. A sudden influx of culturally different immigrants is perceived as a threat to this balance. Indians, with their distinct languages, religions, and customs, are often seen as too different to integrate smoothly. 3.2. Language barrier. Unlike English-speaking countries, Japan has limited incentive to adopt English. Japanese remains the primary language in workplaces, government, and daily life. Although Indians are globally respected for their English skills, this advantage does not translate well in Japan. Mastering Japanese is essential, and it creates a significant barrier for Indian immigrants. 3.3. Religious and dietary differences. Many Indians practice Hinduism, which forbids beef consumption, or Islam, which requires halal food. Japan, however, has a diet heavily reliant on seafood, pork, and beef. Religious practices like large festivals, vegetarian traditions, or prayer requirements can be seen as difficult to accommodate in Japanese workplaces or neighborhoods. 3.4. Stereotypes and prejudice. While Japan generally avoids open racism, there are subtle prejudices. Indians are often stereotyped as either IT geniuses or outsiders who may not fit into Japanese culture. This limits opportunities beyond the tech sector. 4. Economic dimensions. 4.1. Japan's selective immigration strategy. Japan does allow some immigration, but it's highly selective. It prefers highly skilled professionals, engineers, doctors, researchers, workers from culturally closer countries like China, Korea, and Vietnam. Technical interns from Southeast Asia who are brought on temporary contracts rather than permanent visas. Indians often excel in IT and software, but Japan's tech ecosystem historically prioritizes hardware and manufacturing, not software. This mismatch means fewer opportunities for Indians compared to Silicon Valley or London. 4.2 Competition in the labor market. Some Japanese businesses worry that a large influx of Indian workers, especially in IT, could depress wages or reduce job opportunities for locals. While this fear may be overstated, it contributes to resistance against mass immigration. 4.3 Preference for temporary labor. Instead of permanent immigration, Japan prefers short-term guest worker programs. This avoids long-term integration issues. Indian workers, however, often seek permanent residency, making them less aligned with Japan's current labor policies. 5. Political and legal barriers. 5.1 Strict visa policies. Japan's visa system is among the strictest in the developed world. Permanent residency is difficult, and citizenship is rare. Compared to Canada or Australia, where Indians can easily become citizens, Japan offers limited paths to naturalization. 5.2 National security and social cohesion. Japanese policymakers often frame immigration as a risk to national security and social order. There is a fear, however unfounded, that large immigrant groups could bring social tensions or crime. 5.3 Low political pressure. Unlike the US or UK, Japan has no strong Indian diaspora lobbying for greater immigration. Indian communities in Japan are relatively small, around 45,000 people, compared to millions in North America or Europe. 6. India's global migration patterns. Indians migrate successfully to United States, over 4 million Indian Americans, United Kingdom, over 1.8 million, Canada, over 1.6 million, Middle East, over 8 million. Why not Japan? Because those countries offer English-speaking environments, multicultural societies, and clear pathways to permanent settlement. Japan offers none of these, making it less attractive to Indians, even if Japan were more open. 7. Case study. Indian IT workers in Japan. There is one area where Indian immigration is visible: IT outsourcing. Japanese companies, recognizing their weakness in software, have begun hiring Indian engineers. However, these workers often face challenges: long working hours and rigid corporate culture, difficulty integrating socially outside of work, lack of long-term security due to visa limitations. This demonstrates that while Indian talent is welcome in niche fields, Japan resists the idea of broader Indian immigration. 8. Broader cultural clash. Japan versus India. Collectivism versus individualism. Japan prioritizes harmony and subtlety, while Indian culture values debate, diversity, and expression. Formality versus flexibility. Japanese workplaces are highly formalized, whereas Indian workplaces often allow more flexibility. Homogeneity versus pluralism. Japan is nearly mono-ethnic, while India is one of the most diverse countries in the world. These differences fuel the perception that integration would be difficult. 9. The future. Will Japan open to Indian immigration? Japan cannot ignore its demographic crisis forever. It faces two options: continue relying on automation to fill labor shortages, gradually open up to immigration, possibly including Indians. Signs of change are slowly emerging. The Japanese government has expanded visas for highly skilled professionals. Universities are offering more programs in English to attract Indian students. Bilateral relations between Japan and India are strengthening in trade and defense. Still, cultural resistance is strong. Unless Japan undergoes a significant societal shift, it is unlikely to embrace large-scale Indian immigration anytime soon. Japan's reluctance to accept Indian immigration is not about India alone. It reflects Japan's deep-seated cultural homogeneity, strict immigration laws, economic preferences, and social anxieties. Indians thrive in countries where diversity is celebrated and English is widely spoken. But Japan is the opposite: inward-looking, monolingual, and cautious. So while Indians will continue migrating in large numbers to North America, Europe, and the Middle East, Japan will remain an exception. Unless Japan's demographic pressures become overwhelming, the doors to Indian immigration are likely to stay only partially open.